Hello. Did you know that the World Health Organization recommends 30 minutes of moderate intensity activity every day? I'm not sure that most people get anywhere near that goal, so I started reading about why people do not take part in sports and physical activities. Or in other words, what are the barriers to taking up sport? So that's the topic for today, and I'll look at two different age groups, young adults, split into males and females, and then older members of society. And I'll then focus on one of the barriers to sport participation. Before that though, I should clarify what is meant by moderate intensity activity and give a little background. So moderate intensity activity doesn't only mean going to the gym or playing a team sport. It also includes everyday activities like taking the stairs rather than the lift, and home-related activities such as gardening, housework, or walking to the shops or to school. Even when we consider these activities, the WHO estimates that 60% of the world's population does not meet the recommended 30 minutes of activity, and that inactivity is the cause of 2 million deaths annually. Here in the UK, the government set a target for 70% of the population to be reasonably active by 2020. As Allender, Coburn and Foster in 2006 point out though, this target seems very ambitious because at that point only 37% of men and 24% of women in the UK met the target at this time. It seems, to be honest, completely unrealistic to me. So let's consider then what these barriers are to persuading adults to get active. Starting with young people, so those who have left school and are either in further or higher education or have recently started work. Sports and PE are still a part of the school curriculum, so everyone does some form of sport and exercise at school. However, one barrier, especially for young women, is that they do not enjoy or did not enjoy the sports and PE they did at school. And this is the reason why 25% of them assume that sports and such like are just not their cup of tea, and so they don't try anything else. Another related barrier is the perception that physical activity is unfeminine. Well, that might sound surprising, but a study done by an organisation called WSFF noted gender imbalance across the higher levels of the sporting industry. So more men than women take part in elite level sports, and because of this, the media tends to focus on men's elite sports rather than women's. In fact, just 5% of newspaper coverage is devoted to elite women's sports, according to the WSFF. And the final reason is that 1 in 5 men think that sporty women are unfeminine. Quite surprising, I think. So let's consider briefly at this point what can persuade young women to take part in sports. Well, according to Allender, Coburn and Foster, the main reasons for taking part in sports are keeping body shape and weight in check in order to conform to popular ideals of beauty. However, although that is a driver for starting a new sport, Flintoff and Scratton in 2001 report that young women who take part in regular sports report increased levels of self-esteem and new social networks, as well as improved fitness, as motivation to continue with the new sport. So let's turn to young men now. Young men find it the easiest to either continue with sports that they did at school or to start new sports after their school years. Allison and colleagues in 2006 researched young men specifically and found the following, which I'm sure also applies to the wider society as well. These are reasons for not taking part in sport. Firstly, internal factors such as not liking sports or giving a lower priority to physical activity because other things in life become more important, and involvement in technology related activities, which I guess means the Xbox or PS4. Secondly, external factors like the influence of peers and family, and inaccessibility and cost of sports facilities. Now, cost and location is a particular issue that a number of researchers focus their attention on. Taking up a new sport is not necessarily cheap, and the time it takes and the cost to travel to clubs can be a bit high. And this is particularly true when we consider that of the 9 or so million young people aged between 14 and 24 living in the UK, about 1/3 are living in poverty. I'll return to this point later when I've talked about older people. For older people, the barriers to exercise are, I suppose, fairly obvious. The major ones are discomfort and fear of injury, with additional reasons being the weather and cost, which is mentioned by Dunlap and Barry in 2015. So let's return to cost for a moment, as this seems to be a theme running through this research. We'll use jogging or running as an example because it's a fairly simple, sporty activity. All you need to go jogging is a pair of trainers, or sneakers if you prefer the American, a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, maybe a sweatshirt if it's cold outside. Total cost for these things, probably nothing, as most people own a pair of training shoes, shorts and a t-shirt. However, especially for young people who face a lot of peer pressure, it's important to look the part, to fit in with what others in that social network and that social scene are wearing. That means then buying a pair of proper running shoes, running shorts, and a running t-shirt. A quick search suggests that a pair of Nike running shoes can cost anywhere between £40 and £150. Shorts, also by Nike, £20 to £60, and a running t-shirt about the same price, £20 to £60. So as a minimum then, to start jogging with any level of seriousness, you'd need to find at least £80 to get some basic kit. For those young people, that's potentially a lot of money. And then if after a few jogs or a few runs you decide that you enjoy it, you probably need more pairs of shorts and more t-shirts, and probably a few more clothes for the variable weather conditions. Perhaps a little bit later you decide that you need a watch which tracks your movements in quite a lot of detail. One such watch made by Garmin, a number of watches in their range going from £90 to £350. So when you start to add all these things together, cost is indeed a barrier. And that doesn't include joining a club if you choose to join a club. Just the kit that you need the cost can soon mount up. And the marketing people at the sports apparel companies are probably to blame for this. They've persuaded us that we need this technical kit to perform better, and fit in with people who share that hobby or pastime. And I guess that's why the sportswear sector has grown by 42% over the last 7 or so years, and is expected to continue growing by about 4% each year in the coming 5 to 6 years. So it's not just sports kit, it's almost a lifestyle choice. So to conclude, I'll just return to the two figures I mentioned at the start. Will the 60% of the world's population which does not meet that recommended 30 minutes of activity ever reduce? Well, I doubt it. And is the UK target for 70% of the population to be reasonably active by 2020 achievable? Not a chance. The cost is just too much. So, thank you.